Oryx Prime had always been a quiet, orderly world. Its green forests stretched for miles, rivers sparkled in the sun, and the cities of glass and steel reflected the peaceful life of its people. But that peace was breaking. The Xylar Dominion had arrived. Their ships, dark and massive, hung in the skies like storm clouds. Rumors spread faster than the wind. Colonies destroyed, cities burned, families gone. And now Oryx Prime was next. Governor Leora Valen stood at the observation deck of the central tower, her eyes fixed on the horizon. Her heart pounded. She had led her people through challenges before, but nothing like this. The Dominion was relentless, far stronger than any human army. Their weapons could melt steel, and their soldiers were trained in ways the galaxy had rarely seen. Governor Valen, a voice called. It was Captain Ryan, her trusted aide. Our scouts report Xylar ships approaching the outer sectors. We have maybe 2 days before they reach the main cities. Leora nodded. 2 days. That's all we have. And even if we hide, they will find us. She turned away from the window, feeling the weight of her responsibility. Her colony was not ready for war. They had a small defense force, enough to handle minor raids or natural disasters, but not an interstellar empire. She knew what she had to do. In the command center, she activated the communication grid. The message was simple, clear, and desperate. Oryx Prime requests urgent aid. Any allies, please respond. Humanity's survival is at stake. For hours she waited. Hope was a fragile thing, easily broken, and silence stretched like a heavy fog. Many colonies had tried to call for help in the past, only to hear nothing. Oryx Prime could not afford silence, and then the response came. The fleet that appeared on the colony's scanners was unusual. These were not the neat, gleaming ships of the galactic councils, nor the familiar human vessels that usually patrolled the trade routes. The ships were jagged, patched together from different metals, scarred by battle, and humming with strange energy. What are those? Muttered one officer, staring at the display. They don't look human. They are human, Leora said, though even she felt doubt. I know our people. But these humans are different. When the ships landed on Oryx Prime, the colony's residents gathered at a safe distance. The air was tense, filled with curiosity and fear. From the battered vessels, humans emerged, but they were nothing like the Oryx settlers. Their armor was crude but strong, made from metals that seemed to shine even in the fading sunlight. Their skin was tanned, scarred, and weathered. Their eyes were sharp, alert, almost feral. They moved with confidence, each step measured and deliberate. A woman at the front raised her hand. She was tall, muscular, and her hair was braided tightly against her head. She carried a weapon that looked unlike anything Leora had seen. Part sword, part energy device. Her gaze swept the crowd. I am Kayla, she said, voice calm but commanding. We are Deathworlders. We have come to help. Whispers spread among the Oryx people. Deathworlders? Some had heard the stories. Humans who had been born and raised on the galaxy's deadliest planets. Worlds where gravity crushed bones, storms poisoned the air, and predators hunted relentlessly. Only the strongest survived. These humans were the legends, the myths, and now they were here. Leora stepped forward, trying to keep her composure. We thank you for coming. We are in desperate need of assistance. The Xylar Dominion approaches. Kayla nodded. We have seen their kind before. They underestimate humans, thinking us weak. They will learn differently. Over the next hours, Kayla and her team began assessing the colony. They moved quickly, efficiently, and without hesitation. They trained the Oryx defense forces, showing them techniques that were brutal yet effective. Soldiers who had never faced real combat learned how to move silently through forests, how to set traps that could stop armored vehicles, and how to use the terrain itself as a weapon. The colonists watched in awe and fear. These Deathworlders were unlike any humans they had known. Their bodies were stronger, their reflexes faster, and their minds sharper. But there was something else too, something in the way they looked at the Xylar threat. They did not see fear. They saw opportunity. You must understand, Kayla explained to the officers. We survived because we adapted. We were born into worlds that would kill ordinary humans in hours. We do not panic. We do not surrender. And neither should you. Leora listened, her unease growing. She admired their strength, but she worried about the difference in methods. The Deathworlders' training was harsh, even dangerous. Some of the young soldiers complained, and a few even refused. But Kayla was patient, and slowly the colonists began to change. By the time night fell, the outer defenses of Orcs Prime were lined with human warriors who looked different from the city dwellers. Their eyes glimmered with a new determination, their movements more confident. The Deathworlders had transformed them, at least partially, from ordinary humans into fighters capable of surviving unimaginable threats. Yet, despite this progress, Leora knew the greatest challenge had not yet arrived. The Xylar Dominion was coming, and no training could fully prepare anyone for what was to come. That night, she walked through the training grounds alone. The fires of the Deathworlders' camp illuminated the area, casting shadows that flickered across the trees. She watched them spar, push each other, and test their limits. There was something mesmerizing about their energy, a raw power and focus that seemed almost untamed. One of the Deathworlders, a man named Varric, noticed her watching. He approached quietly. "Governor Valen," he said, voice low. "Do not worry for us. We fight because we survive, and we will survive," she nodded, not entirely reassured. "I hope that's true. Not just for you, for all of us." Varric smiled faintly. "You will see. Ordinary humans forget their strength. We remind them." For the first time in days, Leora allowed herself a moment of hope. Maybe, just maybe, these Deathworlders were exactly what humanity needed. They were not polished, they were not gentle, and they certainly were not predictable. But they had one thing the Dominion could never understand: the unbreakable will to survive. The stars above Orcs Prime twinkled quietly, indifferent to the struggles below. But down on the planet's surface, humanity was about to show that even the most ordinary humans could rise to face the deadliest threats, with a little help from the galaxy's fiercest survivors. And somewhere in the dark space beyond, the Xylar Dominion approached, unaware of the storm they were about to face. The morning sun rose over Orcs Prime, casting golden light on the forests and cities below. The air was fresh but tense. The colonists had begun to adjust to the presence of the Deathworlders. But the tension between the groups was clear. In the central square, Kayla stood before a group of young Orc soldiers, their uniforms neat and clean compared to her battle-worn armor. The difference was stark. These colonists had lived sheltered lives, protected by careful planning and technology, while Kayla's people had been forged in the fires of survival. "Listen carefully," Kayla said, her voice cutting through the morning air. "Your enemy will not wait for you to be ready. The Xylar Dominion will exploit every weakness. Today you learn what you are capable of." The soldiers shifted nervously. Some whispered to each other, questioning the harshness of her methods. "Today we climb," Kayla continued. "Through rough terrain, over cliffs, across rivers. You will carry your weapons and your gear. You will not stop. You will not complain. And if you fall behind, you will keep moving." The colonists hesitated. The ground they were about to cross was difficult enough for experienced soldiers, and they had never faced such harsh conditions. But Kayla's presence was commanding. Even the doubters followed, knowing there was no other choice. The march began. The group moved through dense forests, the undergrowth thick and unforgiving. Kayla led, her senses alert to every sound. Branches snapped underfoot, birds scattered at the movement, and shadows shifted in ways that hinted at predators. Not all were natural. Kayla pointed out where hidden traps could be set using rocks, vines, and fallen logs. "These forests can be your allies," she said, "if you understand them, or they can be your grave." By midday, the soldiers were exhausted, struggling to keep pace. Some stumbled over roots, others tripped on uneven ground. Kayla did not pause to comfort them. Instead, she demonstrated, effortlessly navigating the terrain. Her movements were precise, efficient, and deadly in their simplicity. Varric, another Deathworlder, fell in beside the colonists, giving quiet instructions. "Keep your eyes open. Sense the land. The trees tell a story, hear it. The rocks hide paths, find them. And most importantly, trust your instincts." At first, the colonists struggled. Their bodies ached, their minds screamed for rest, and their hearts pounded with fear. But slowly they began to understand. They learned to anticipate hidden dangers, to notice small movements in the forest, and to react with speed. Each step became a lesson, each stumble a chance to improve. As they reached a ridge overlooking a valley, Kayla stopped. She pointed down to the open land below. "If an enemy were here, you would see them," she said. "But could they see you? Could they know what you plan? Humans on Deathworlds always know the terrain. You must learn it too." The soldiers scanned the valley. It was open, flat, and seemingly easy to cross. Yet Kayla's sharp eyes noticed small signs of danger: disturbed dirt, broken branches, shadows in the sunlight. She explained how to set ambushes, how to move silently, and how to use natural cover to protect themselves. "You see," Kayla said, "the Dominion believes they can overwhelm you with technology, but you have something they do not: adaptability, cunning, and the will to survive. Use it." By evening, the group had returned to the colony. The colonists were exhausted, their muscles sore, but a sense of accomplishment had replaced fear. They had pushed beyond what they thought was possible. Still, not all were convinced. Some officers approached Governor Valen privately, voicing their concerns. "Governor, these methods, they are too extreme. Our people are not trained for this. We risk injury, even death." Leora listened, understanding their fear. "I know it is harsh," she said, "but we cannot wait for comfort. The Xylar Dominion is coming. We need more than our normal skills to survive. We need to awaken something within us that we never knew existed." Meanwhile, Kyla and Varric prepared for the next day's training. They spoke quietly among themselves. "These colonists are different," Varric said. "They are soft, inexperienced, but they have potential. They just need to understand that survival is not about comfort." Kayla nodded. "Yes, and they will. Humanity forgets its strength when it lives in easy worlds. We remind them." The next training exercises were even more challenging. The Deathworlders taught the colonists how to move silently at night, how to use the wind to cover their scent, and how to improvise weapons from anything around them. They ran drills where the soldiers had to escape ambushes, navigate treacherous terrain, and even swim through freezing rivers while carrying gear. At first, panic threatened to take over. But Kayla encouraged them, reminding them of small victories, teaching them to breathe, to focus, and to survive. Slowly, the colonists improved. They discovered strength they did not know they had. By the end of the week, a transformation had begun. The young soldiers, who had once trembled at the thought of leaving the safety of the city walls, now moved with purpose, their eyes sharper, their steps more confident. They were still not Deathworlders, but they were beginning to think like them. One evening, Leora watched from the observation tower as Kayla led a small squad through the forests. They moved quickly, silently, disappearing among the trees like shadows. She felt a mixture of awe and fear. These humans born from the harshest worlds could do what she and her people could not even imagine, and yet, they were here to protect her colony. Leora turned to her aide, Captain Ryan. "Do you think they can really help us survive?" Ryan hesitated. I don't know. Their methods are strange, but the Dominion has never faced humans like them. If anyone can turn the tide, it's these Deathworlders." Night fell and the colony prepared for sleep. But sleep was uneasy. Messages from scouts reported Xylar ships moving closer. The colony's people could hear the faint hum of engines in the distance, feel the vibration in the ground. The threat was real and imminent. Kayla walked through the camp, inspecting the soldiers. She stopped at a group of young colonists who were resting. "You did well today," she said softly. "You pushed past fear. Remember this feeling. It is the first step toward survival." One of the young soldiers looked up. "But we are not like you," he said. "We can't be." Kayla knelt, looking him in the eyes. "You are already stronger than you know. Strength is not born in comfort. It is earned through challenge, through pain, through choice. Tonight you choose to survive. Tomorrow you will choose again." Leora, watching from a distance, realized something important. These Deathworlders were not just soldiers, they were teachers, guides, and reminders of what humans could be at their best. And if her colony could learn from them, maybe they could stand against the Dominion. But even as hope grew, a shadow hung over the world. The Xylar Dominion would not wait. They would come, bringing ships, weapons, and soldiers in numbers that could crush anything. Oryx Prime would face its greatest test. And in the forests, the Deathworlders smiled faintly, sensing the storm before it arrived. They thrived on challenge, on danger, on the chance to fight against impossible odds. For them, survival was a game the Dominion would soon lose, but only if the humans of Oryx Prime could rise to meet it. As the night deepened, the stars above Oryx Prime twinkled silently. The colony slept uneasily, while beyond the skies the first shadows of the coming war began to take shape. And in the hearts of both the Deathworlders and the settlers, a new fire began to burn. A fire that could turn fear into strength, doubt into courage, and ordinary humans into something extraordinary. The lesson was clear. Survival was not easy, and the path ahead would be dangerous. But with the Deathworlders' guidance, humanity could awaken a strength that the Xylar Dominion had never imagined. And for the first time, Leora allowed herself to believe that Oryx Prime might not fall. The sky over Oryx Prime was a pale silver that morning, clouds stretching like long drifting fingers across the horizon. The colony was quiet, almost deceptively calm. But beneath the surface, tension gripped the hearts of every human. The scouts had reported the Xylar Dominion fleet approaching faster than expected. Governor Leora Valen walked through the city streets, her uniform crisp, her steps steady, but inside, fear gnawed at her. She had watched her people train with the Deathworlders, had seen ordinary humans pushed to limits they never imagined. But this was real, or was about to touch their world. From the hills overlooking the city, Kayla stood with Varric and a small squad of Deathworlders, eyes scanning the skies. They were silent, alert. Even the youngest recruits could sense that the coming battle would test everything they had learned. The Dominion will try to strike fast, Kayla said. They think speed will break us. They do not understand humans like us, Varric nodded. Or them, he added, gesturing at the assembled colonists below. They will fight with cunning and strength. If we guide them, Oryx Prime will survive. The first shadows appeared on the horizon, sleek, dark Xylar ships, their engines glowing with a cold blue light. The Dominion fleet moved in tight formation, disciplined and intimidating. Ordinary humans gasped at the sight. Even the trained soldiers felt a chill. But the Deathworlders were calm, almost bored, as if they had seen hundreds of fleets like this before. Kayla raised her hand. Positions. Remember what we taught you. Use the terrain. Trust each other, and never underestimate your own strength. The colonists scattered to their positions, moving quickly through the forests, across hills, and behind natural barriers. The Deathworlders led the way, showing them hidden paths, creating makeshift fortifications, and setting traps that would turn the land itself into a weapon. When the Xylar Dominion attacked, it was sudden and violent. The first wave of ships released drones that swarmed toward the city, weapons flaring. The colonists fired their cannons, but most drones seemed almost unstoppable. Kayla's squad sprang into action. They ran down hillsides, leapt over rocky outcrops, and set traps that exploded in coordinated bursts. Rocks, vines, and camouflaged pits slowed the drones, destroying them in numbers. The colonists watched in awe as the Deathworlders moved with perfect efficiency, as if the very land obeyed their will. Follow them, Kayla shouted. Use what you have. Do not wait for perfection. Make it happen. For the first time, the Orc soldiers began to fight like the legends had described. They used guerrilla tactics, striking from shadows, disappearing before the Xylar could respond. Even the youngest recruits found courage they didn't know they had. They ran through forests, using trees for cover, leaping over rocks and streams and attacking from angles that confounded the Dominion. A Xylar skimmer approached, its weapons trained on a small village below. Kayla and Varric exchanged a glance. Move, Kayla commanded. The Deathworlders split into teams, using the forest to hide their approach. They launched a surprise attack on the skimmer, using improvised explosives and energy weapons. The vehicle crashed in a shower of sparks, sending Xylar soldiers scrambling. The colonists, following the Deathworlders' lead, captured or destroyed what remained. Governor Valen watched from a hill, heart pounding. She could hardly believe her eyes. The Dominion fleet was massive, disciplined, and deadly, but the humans of Oryx Prime, guided by the Deathworlders, were holding their own. Ordinary people were fighting alongside legends, their fear transformed into skill and courage. Yet the battle was far from over. The Dominion's main assault fleet was approaching, and it was clear that sheer numbers would soon overwhelm the colony if they did not act strategically. Kayla called for a council of the squad leaders. We cannot match them ship for ship, she said, but we can make this planet our ally. Valleys, cliffs, forests, every obstacle can be a weapon. Split them. Divide them, and strike where they least expect it. The colonists nodded, trusting her guidance. They had learned from the Deathworlders, and for the first time they began to see their own potential. As the sun reached its highest point, the Dominion attacked again. Ships swooped down, firing energy beams that scorched trees and melted rock. Explosions shook the ground, sending columns of smoke and fire into the sky. The colonists scattered, using every trick the Deathworlders had taught them. Kayla led a small team to intercept a group of Dominion soldiers who had landed near the outer forests. Using stealth traps and precise attacks, they cut through the enemy with efficiency. The colonists were hesitant at first, but seeing the Deathworlders' skill, they followed, striking hard and disappearing before the Dominion could respond. Varric called out, "Aim for their weak points. Use speed and surprise. And remember, survive." The battle raged on for hours. The Dominion had advanced weapons, but the Deathworlders had something stronger: unpredictability. They moved like shadows, striking from the sides and behind, forcing the Xylar to fight on unfamiliar ground. Every small victory boosted the colonists' confidence. Ordinary humans began to feel powerful, capable and alive in ways they had never imagined. By evening, the first major assault had been repelled. The Dominion ships withdrew to the horizon, regrouping for the next attack. Smoke rose from burned forests and shattered machinery, but the colony had survived. The Deathworlders and the colonists had shown that even against a superior force, humanity's will to survive was stronger than the enemy's weapons. Governor Valen walked among the fighters, offering words of encouragement. She met young soldiers who were trembling with exhaustion but smiling with pride. "You did it," she said. "You defended our home." One of the recruits, a boy no older than 16, looked at her with wide eyes. We actually did it?" "Yes," Leora said. "Because you believed in yourselves, and because we had help from the strongest humans alive." She glanced at Kayla, who stood surveying the battlefield, calm and unwavering. "These Deathworlders, they've changed everything." Kayla approached Leora. "Your people fought well," she said. "They are learning. But remember, this was only the first strike. The Dominion will return stronger and smarter, and next time they may not be so forgiving." "I know," Leora replied. "But today we learned something important. Humanity is not weak. Not on this world and not anywhere. We can survive. We can fight back." Varric smiled faintly. "And they will continue to grow. Ordinary humans become extraordinary when they face the impossible. Today you saw the first spark." As night fell, the survivors gathered in the city, tending wounds, repairing equipment, and sharing stories of their small victories. The Deathworlders moved among them, offering guidance, correcting mistakes, and preparing for what was to come. Leora looked up at the stars, thinking about the fleet still hovering beyond the atmosphere. The Dominion had underestimated humanity, but the war was far from over. She could feel the weight of what lay ahead, but for the first time, she also felt hope. The colony had survived the first strike because they had learned to fight not just with weapons, but with courage, strategy, and the guidance of humans who had mastered survival itself. The Deathworlders had turned fear into strength, panic into skill, and ordinary humans into something more than they had ever imagined. And somewhere beyond the stars, the Xylar Dominion began to understand that humanity was not an easy target. Oryx Prime was only a glimpse of what humans could become when pushed to the edge. The battle had been won, but the war was just beginning. And as the fires of the day smoldered in the forests and hills, the Deathworlders and the colonists alike knew one truth: survival was not a gift. It was earned, and humanity, for all its seeming fragility, was learning to earn it with every heartbeat, every step, and every strike. The morning on Oryx Prime was filled with tension. The sky, streaked with gray clouds, reflected the unease of the colony. Fires from the previous battle still smoked in the forests, and scattered debris marked where the Xylar Dominion had attempted their first attack. But the colony had survived. Governor Leora Valine stood on a high platform overlooking the outer defenses. Her eyes scanned the horizon, where scouts reported movements in space. The Dominion had returned. This time they brought far more than before. Massive ships glided through the atmosphere, their weapons glowing ominously. Smaller skimmers darted between them, ready to strike. Kayla stood beside her, calm as always. "They will test us," she said. "They have learned from their first defeat. They will try to break our lines to find the weak points in your people. But we are ready." Leora nodded, though worry lingered in her chest. "I hope you're right. This time, the numbers, they are overwhelming." Varric stepped forward, his gaze hard. "Numbers do not matter. Strategy, skill, and the will to survive matter, and your people are stronger than they realize. They will prove it today." Across the colony, the Deathworlders organized squads. They paired veteran fighters with Orcs soldiers, mixing experience with raw courage. Every team was briefed on terrain, ambush points, and escape routes. The forests, hills, and rivers of Oryx Prime were no longer just land. They were weapons. Remember, Kayla told the young soldiers, today, you fight not just for your homes, but for your lives. Every step, every shot, every decision counts. Trust each other. And survive. The first wave of the Dominion's attack came swiftly. Massive skimmers descended onto the outskirts of the colony, their weapons firing indiscriminately. Explosions rocked the ground, trees were flattened, and dust rose in choking clouds. The colonists reacted, firing their cannons, setting traps, and taking cover. Kayla and her squad moved through the chaos, guiding groups of colonists. They leapt across rocky ridges, slid down hillsides, and disappeared into forests, striking at Dominion forces from unexpected angles. The colonists, once timid and unsure, followed, learning quickly how to survive in the midst of chaos. Move. Don't hesitate, Kayla shouted, as a squad of young soldiers hesitated near an exposed ridge. They watched as her movements were fluid, deadly, and precise. Inspired, they sprinted forward, using rocks for cover and firing accurately at the advancing Xyler soldiers. Varric led another group through the river valleys. Using the current and the reeds as natural camouflage, they ambushed Dominion patrols, destroying weapons and forcing skimmers to retreat. The colonists' hearts pounded, but they began to feel something they had never known: true confidence in their ability to fight and survive. As the battle spread across the colony, the Xyler Dominion adapted. They brought heavier ships, experimental weapons, and advanced drones designed to flush out ambushes. But the Deathworlders anticipated them. Every trap was set with care, every movement calculated. The forest and hills became a maze of hidden pitfalls and ambush points. Dominion soldiers stumbled into pits, were slowed by collapsing branches, or were trapped by cleverly designed snares. In the city, Leora coordinated reinforcements, sending groups of colonists to assist where they were most needed. Her people were terrified, but courage and skill grew with each encounter. Every small victory gave them hope. Every successful trap or strike boosted their confidence. The Deathworlders were not just teachers, they were catalysts, awakening a strength humans had almost forgotten. By mid-afternoon, the battle had reached its peak. The Dominion deployed a massive skimmer targeting the central city district. Its weapons fired indiscriminately, destroying buildings and sending citizens running for cover. Kayla and Varric led a daring mission to intercept it. "Follow me," Kayla shouted. They darted across streets, using debris and ruined buildings as cover. The skimmer's sensors scanned constantly, but Kayla's team was faster, moving unpredictably. They reached the weapon's weak point, an exposed engine compartment. With a combination of explosives and precise strikes, they disabled it. The skimmer crashed in a fiery explosion, scattering Dominion forces. The colonists watching from above erupted in cheers, their spirits lifted. For the first time, they realized that even the largest, most powerful enemy could be defeated with courage, strategy, and teamwork. But Kayla knew this was only the beginning. The Dominion would not stop. They would regroup, bring more ships, and strike harder. The training, the ambushes, the lessons, they had all been preparation for the true challenge. Leora approached Kayla as the smoke cleared. "Your people, they are incredible. But the Dominion is relentless. Can we survive another attack?" Kayla studied the horizon, eyes sharp. "We can. Your people are learning. They are becoming more than they were yesterday. They will survive. Not because the enemy is weak, but because humanity is stronger than it knows." Varric added, "Every time we fight, they learn. Every victory, small or large, strengthens them. The Dominion will underestimate humans again, and that will be their downfall." As evening fell, the colony began to assess the damage. Fires were extinguished, wounded soldiers treated, and supplies counted. Despite exhaustion, the people of Oryx Prime felt a new sense of pride. They had faced a superior enemy and survived. They had fought, learned, and adapted. Kayla gathered the surviving colonists. "Today you saw what humans can do," she said. "Not all of you are Deathworlders, but each of you fought like one. You survived, you adapted, and tomorrow you will be stronger." One young soldier, his face blackened with soot and sweat, looked up. "I never thought I could do this. I thought I would fail, Kayla smiled. Strength is not about what you think you can do. Strength is about what you choose to do. Today you chose to fight, to survive, to rise above fear. That is strength. Governor Valen watched the scene, a mix of relief and pride swelling within her. For weeks she had doubted, worried, and feared for her people. But seeing them fight, seeing them grow, she realized something profound. Humanity's true power was not in weapons, ships, or technology alone. It was in the courage, adaptability, and unbreakable will of its people. As night fell, the stars above Orcs Prime shone with clarity. The Dominion fleet had withdrawn for the night, regrouping and preparing for the next assault. But the people of Orcs Prime slept with a new confidence. They had seen the first wave of war, faced overwhelming odds, and survived. And with the Deathworlders guiding them, they knew they could face even greater challenges. Kayla and Varric stood on a ridge, watching the colony below. They are learning faster than I expected, Varric said quietly. Kayla nodded. Yes, but the true test is yet to come. The Dominion will not stop. Next time we must be ready for everything. For now, though, they have hope. And hope is the first weapon we have given them. Governor Leora Valen looked out at her people one last time before retreating to her quarters. They were battered, tired, but unbroken. The battle had been brutal, but the lesson was clear. Survival required more than fear or technology. It required courage, adaptability, and the unyielding spirit that the Deathworlders had brought to Orcs Prime. The colony would rebuild, the soldiers would recover, and the lessons learned would be remembered. Humanity had faced the Xylar Dominion and survived, and in the hearts of every colonist a fire had been lit, a fire that would not be extinguished. The war was far from over, but for the first time, humanity stood ready. And when the Dominion returned, they would meet not just colonists but warriors, trained in the harshest ways, guided by the fiercest humans alive. Orcs Prime would not fall. Not today, not tomorrow. Humanity's Deathworlders had arrived, and with them a new era of survival, courage, and strength had begun. The first light of dawn spread across Orcs Prime, painting the forests, rivers, and cities in shades of gold and crimson. The colony stirred, but there was no comfort in the morning. Scouts reported the Xylar Dominion fleet returning, larger, stronger, and more determined than ever. This was no longer a raid. It was a full-scale invasion. Governor Leora Valen stood on a high ridge with Kayla and Varric. The wind whipped her hair, carrying the scent of smoke from previous battles. Her heart pounded, but this time fear was tempered with resolve. She had seen her people grow. She had seen ordinary humans become warriors under the guidance of the Deathworlders. They have brought everything, Varric said quietly, scanning the approaching fleet. They want to crush us in one strike. But they do not understand what humans are capable of. Kayla nodded. Today, survival is not enough. Today, we fight to prove that humanity is stronger than the galaxy believes. Every soldier, every civilian, every Deathworlder stand ready. Across the colony, humans prepared for battle. Defensive lines were reinforced, traps checked, and weapons loaded. Families helped wherever they could, moving supplies, aiding the wounded, and carrying messages. The unity of the colony was remarkable. Humans who had once been afraid now moved with confidence, inspired by their Deathworlder allies. From the skies, the Xylar fleet descended, their engines humming like a storm of thunder. Massive warships blotted out the sun, while swarms of smaller skimmers darted toward the colony. Energy beams cut through the air, striking the ground with devastating force. Kayla's team moved through the forests, guiding squads of colonists. Use the land, she shouted. Cliffs, rivers, trees, turn them into weapons. The Dominion relies on numbers. We rely on strategy. The colonists obeyed. Valleys became ambush points, rivers carried traps, and forests concealed snipers who picked off skimmers one by one. Ordinary humans moved with purpose, their confidence growing with every success. Leora watched from a ridge, heart swelling with pride. They've changed, she whispered to Varric. Ordinary humans. They're extraordinary now. Varric smiled faintly. It took only the right guidance and a challenge worthy of their strength. They are learning fast. Humanity is awakening. The battle raged across land, air, and even orbital platforms. The Xylar Dominion underestimated the humans' adaptability. Their experimental weapons were countered by ingenious traps, misdirections, and relentless attacks. The Deathworlders led from the front, but they also encouraged colonists to take initiative. Ordinary humans made decisions, adapted quickly, and found strength they had never known. In one critical moment, a massive Xylar skimmer targeted the central city district. Civilians ran in panic and defenders scrambled to stop it. Kayla and a squad of Deathworlders intercepted, but the skimmer's shields were strong. "Focus fire on the joints," Kayla shouted to the colonists. "Use everything we've taught you." Soldiers fired with precision, aiming at weak points in the armor. Explosives detonated strategically, shields faltered, and finally, the skimmer crashed in a controlled explosion. The colonists cheered, and even Kayla allowed herself a small smile. Meanwhile, other teams fought alongside the Deathworlders, engaging Xylar troops in forests, valleys, and hills. Humans who had once been ordinary were now thinking like Deathworlders, calculating, cunning, and fearless. The Dominion soldiers were confused and frustrated, facing an enemy they had underestimated at every turn. Leora moved among her people, offering encouragement and guidance. She saw young soldiers pulling wounded comrades to safety, engineers improvising weapons, and families aiding in defense efforts. The entire colony had become a single, coordinated force, strengthened by the Deathworlders' training and the shared will to survive. As the battle reached its climax, Kayla called for a final maneuver. "Split them," she shouted. "Divide the Dominion. Draw them into the traps. Hit them from every side." Teams moved with precision, ambushing ships, disabling weapons, and forcing the Xylar soldiers into difficult terrain. Valleys became death traps. Forests turned into mazes of destruction, and rivers carried surprises that slowed the Dominion's advance. Ordinary humans executed strategies they had learned only days before, their courage shining brighter than any weapon. In the center of the city, Leora watched as the final wave of skimmers advanced. "This is it," she whispered. "The moment we either fall or rise." Kayla led a squad through the city streets, intercepting the enemy and striking with deadly efficiency. The colonists flanked the Dominion forces, forcing retreats and capturing soldiers. The once overwhelming enemy was now in disarray, struggling against humans who had learned to fight with courage, intelligence, and determination. Barrick's voice carried across the battlefield. "Remember this moment. Humanity does not break. Humanity survives." By nightfall, the Dominion had been decisively repelled. Their fleet retreated, badly damaged and humiliated. Fires burned in parts of the colony. But the people of Orcs Prime stood victorious. Exhaustion mixed with triumph, and for the first time, the colonists truly believed in their strength. Governor Leora Valen walked among the survivors, offering words of encouragement. She met young soldiers whose faces were streaked with soot and sweat, yet their eyes shone with pride. "You did it," she said. "You fought like humans should, brave, clever, and unstoppable." One young recruit, barely old enough to vote, looked up at her. "We really did it?" "Yes," Leora said. "Because you refused to give up. Because you believed in yourselves. And because you had help from the strongest humans alive." She glanced at Kayla, standing tall and calm amidst the chaos. Kayla approached, placing a hand lightly on Leora's shoulder. "They fought well. They are stronger now. Not everyone is a Deathworlder, but every human here has become extraordinary." Barrick added, "The galaxy has learned something today. Humans are not weak. They are resilient, resourceful, and relentless, and this is only the beginning." As the people of Orcs Prime began to rebuild, there was a new energy among them. The fires of battle had forged them into warriors, and the lessons of the Deathworlders had awakened a strength that no enemy could easily crush. Families rebuilt homes, soldiers repaired equipment, and leaders like Leora planned for the future, not just for survival, but for a stronger humanity. The Deathworlders, having completed their mission, prepared to leave. Their presence had transformed Orcs Prime forever. Leora approached Kayla. "Will you stay?" she asked. Kayla shook her head gently. "Our work is done here. But remember this. The strength you have seen is already within your people. Humans can endure, adapt, and survive anywhere. We have reminded you of what you are capable of." Barrick added, "The galaxy will see you differently now." Orcs Prime stands as proof. Humanity is not fragile. Humanity endures. Humanity fights. As the Deathworlders departed, the people of Orcs Prime watched them go. The colony had faced annihilation and survived, guided by humans forged in the deadliest worlds. They were stronger, braver, and wiser than before. Governor Leora Valen turned to her people. "Today, We have learned that survival is not about technology alone. It is about courage, adaptability, and the will to endure. Humanity has a new face, and it is one the galaxy will never forget. The stars above Oryx Prime twinkled quietly, as if witnessing a new chapter in human history. The Xylar Dominion had underestimated humanity, and that mistake would echo across the stars. For the first time, Oryx Prime was not just a colony, it was a symbol. A symbol of what humans could become when faced with the impossible, and humanity's Deathworlders had shown them the way. The fire of courage burned bright in every heart, a fire that would not fade. The galaxy had seen only the beginning of what humans could do. And as the night settled over Oryx Prime, one truth was clear: humanity would survive, and when the next challenge came, they would face it as one stronger, wiser, and unbroken. The war had been won, but the legend of humanity's Deathworlders and the humans they had awakened was only just beginning.